Hey there, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to do something that I have never done before, and that is I'm going to be auditing one of your accounts, which is one of my YouTube subscribers' Pinterest accounts. Now, before we get into the account audit, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And with that, let's dive in. So the winner of this audit is Haircyclopedia, and you can find their Pinterest account at the rate of haircarejoy. The name is Swid Enyu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, so let me know in the comments if this is you and I am doing this right. So the reason why I selected this account is because first of all, it's a very interesting niche. It's in, I guess, in healthy hair and how to, do things with your hair, which is something that I don't come across quite often. Usually you will come across people who have websites in finance or travel and other lifestyle topics. So I thought this would be a very interesting way to look into an account. Now, usually there are 4 things that I do when I'm auditing an account, and here's the 4 things that we will go in step by step to see haircarejoy's account and really see how he or she is doing with that. So first things first, we're going to audit the profile name. So what is there in the profile name? And then we're going to be talking about the bio, which is basically the section where you give a description of what your account is all about. Then we're going to be looking at their pins, and then we are going to be looking at their boards and auditing them step by step. Now keep in mind, this is something which I'm doing as an overview, so it's not going to have a PDF or something attached to it. Usually I do this a lot inside of my program PINFLUENCER Academy, where I will go into a lot of details and give very specific tips on how they can improve it. But this is going to be more of an overview video so that all of you all can actually audit your own accounts by yourself without me having to step in and do all of that. And if you do need detailed feedback and you really need my support and guidance, I recommend that you check out our course, PINFLUENCER Academy. So first things first, let's talk about her profile name, which is called Haircyclopedia, blogger of everything and hair tips. Now, I don't know what is everything, but I think it is kind of like a play on words. And while that could be cool on Pinterest, you want to make sure that your profile name is actually discoverable on search. So what I would do here is that I would actually make it either shorter or increase or swap the words out instead of doing everything and blogger, because that does not help us, right? So what you can do specifically when you go to your website is spend a little bit of time doing keyword research to understand what are people looking for when they go to your website, right? So you are an encyclopedia for hair related tips, right? So this means that you want people to be able to discover that when they put in that term. Now, people who don't know your brand, for example, if you're not, someone who is an established influencer at this point, nobody's going to be searching for Haircyclopedia. They're going to be searching for what can this provide me or what information can this account give me, right? So here's where we will go and look into a couple of things. And for example, we can look into hair tips and we can see how, what are the different keywords that come up. So hair tips, hair tips and tricks. And when we Google that, we'll see, okay, what are the different accounts that are coming in? We can go into people and we can see what are some of the biggest accounts that are in this space and how have they optimized their profile, right? So here's hair tips and tricks. You have Free the Roots, which is about natural hair tips and tricks. And again, as you see, when you put in hair, you want to see all of the auto suggestions that are coming up, right? So hairstyles, hair color ideas, hair color, hair hacks, right? And when you put in hair tips, you will have some different, topics coming up as well. So hair tips and tricks, hair tips video, hair tips diet, hair tips for women. And then you can also see hair tips for. So you can basically look for different combinations of words that you believe your ideal audience is looking for, right? So hair tips for black women, for men, for frizzy hair, thin hair, whatever. So I would, if you are, claiming that your account is all about having a hair cyclopedia and you basically are, let's say, the be all and the end all of hair related tips, then I would re-edit this and make this hair cyclopedia and then / I don't know what you call this, but yeah, I guess it's a slash, but it's just a straight slash. And then here is where you would put hair tips and tricks. And maybe if you're targeting women, you want to add in hair tips and tricks for women. What this does is that each time somebody searches hair tips, they would be able to then come up across your account and they would be able to see, okay, this is the person who shares, hair tips or hair hacks or whatever. As you can see when I type in hair tips and tricks, right? So let's see what comes up when we type this in. You'll see that there are these 3 accounts showing up. Why are they showing up? Because they have optimized their profile to show up for this keyword. And now maybe you're wondering if this, if as soon as you do this, you will start showing up on search. You won't, okay? Things are not that easy when it comes to growing on Pinterest, how I wish they were. So even if you do this, it might take a while before you actually start showing up in search, because it depends on the overall strength of your account and the overall, optimization of your account and how much engagement your account is driving. So in that sense, Pinterest is similar to Google, which requires you to have, certain parameters and ranking factors in place. And again, I dive into this in a lot of detail when it comes to ranking factors inside my course. So if you're interested in learning more about Pinterest SEO, you can check that out. All right, so this is something that I would change. I would make it hair cyclopedia and then hair tips and tricks for women, specifically if you're for women. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to edit this bio again in the similar manner. So right now, when you see, look for potential keywords, you find hair care. I'm not sure if that's a keyword, but okay, you find hair care and you find healthy hair and you find hair tips. But you have so much space for your bio. You can easily optimize this with including at least 5 to 7 keywords in your bio. So I would again spend a little bit of time, and if you don't have access to to, let's say, the ads manager, which is one of the tricks that I show in my Pinterest keywords tutorial, which you can check out on the channel as well, I would just sit here and sort of work through different combinations that you're getting over here when it comes to hair tips and tricks, when it comes to hair, let's say, hacks, when it comes to hair videos, where it comes to all of these things. And then I would pick the 5 most important keywords that you want to share here. So it's going to be hair cyclopedia is a hair care blog, or is a hair tips and tricks blog created to help women manage their hair, or with including their hair hacks, etc. So I would then re-edit this as well. So let's write it out over here. Okay, so when it comes to your profile name, we want it to be hair cyclopedia, and forgive me guys if I make any typos because I'm writing and recording at the same time. So hair cyclopedia, and this is going to be hair tips and tricks for women. Yeah, if you're not for women, then you can keep this part out and you can just put hair tips and tricks. In your bio, we want to make sure that this is a place where you're showcasing 5 to 7 keywords. So we're going to say learn the best hair tips, hair tricks, hair hacks for curly hair, or whatever, whichever hair it is that you target. Curly hair, I don't know, straight hair, and learn, right, let me shift this a bit, and learn how to learn new hair treatments. Now again, you are the expert here because I am not a hair expert, how I wish I was. So as you can see, when I change this bio, I automatically give people the chance to find you through various keywords, and that's what we want to do. We want your account to be optimized in a way that wherever people look for hair stuff, your account pops up, right? That's how you get traffic. That's how you start driving people to your account. That's how you get more followers. So this is one option. Obviously, you can change this based on who it is that you actually want to target and based on your own keyword research. But just off the top of my mind, I would definitely at least add 4 to 5 keywords so that people who are looking for information on any of these topics are redirected to your account. All right, let's now dive into your pins and see just an overview of what your pins look like. So I usually have a set of parameters that I judge pins with, and I usually recommend 7 tips that should go into every pin that you aim to get viral. But this is something that depends heavily on your account as well. So for example, there can be certain colors that do well in a certain niche. So for example, if you're a man and you're targeting men with your Pinterest account, colors like black and red and these bold dominant colors tend to do well. And if your audience is primarily female, then maybe lighter neutral colors, pastel colors. Now I know it sounds stereotypical, but that is just based on my own research. So I'm not trying to make any gender stereotypes here. I'm not trying to say that at all, but what I'm trying to say is that you have to test this for your audience, what colors and fonts and combinations work best for you. So when I look into some of your pins, let's see what comes up. So I guess this is a video pin, right? So 9 best braiding hair for box braids, twists, and cornrows. I have no idea what that is, but I guess those are different techniques to do your hair. Then you have 9 best hair boosting supplements to include in your diet. Now here's the thing with these pins, which I believe are idea pins, so or probably video pins, is that these pins are not that easy to read. So when you see the text, it is somehow misplaced, especially when you have this picture. So when you see it from here, it's not that easy to read. There's dry shampoos for oily hair is somehow twisted. I don't know why that's happening, but it does not look very good when I look at it. Here it seems normal when I open this pin, but it does not look good over here. So I would test that out and make sure that that's not happening, because when people can't really read properly, they're not going to twist their head on their mobile phone to read your pin. So you want to make sure that this is not happening, even if it is an error, which is with your maybe your design app. So I would recommend checking that out to make sure that that doesn't happen. And then you have tips like this. So 5 epic relaxer stretching tips to help you avoid more breakage. First of all, I think that there are too many words on this pin. So epic relaxer stretching. Epic and relaxer are, I guess, 2 adjectives that you're trying to talk about when it comes to these tips. Now, when it comes to Pinterest, it is important to use adjectives and kind of, amplify your statement and amplify your content. But you don't want to be saying epic and relaxer both, because then it's like it kind of confuses the person as to whether it's epic or whether it's relaxing. So I would choose one of these words. The other thing that I also found is that this is too small. So the top text here, epic relaxer stretching, is too small to be read on a mobile phone. And you can test this out yourself. Just download the Pinterest app and go to your account and see, are your pins really easily readable? So I would change and redesign this format to make your text first bigger, and also maybe not add this cursive font, because not only is it very hard to read, it doesn't really add a lot of value, because I cannot see that this is tips. It could be also sips, for example, right? It doesn't make it easy to read this. So I would definitely revamp this complete, area and think of changing that. So an example of how you can do this would be one of my own account, where I want to show you that, a couple of pins that we've done and how it's easier for us to look at, just read it. So when you see any of these pins, so for example, when you see this, it is so easy for you to read what this pin is all about. You can quickly see, okay, this is about side hustle ideas, blah, 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 right? And that's what we want to happen to your account as well. Now, if you're looking for help on that, you can download my Canva templates, which I offer for a very reasonable price. I have 70 templates that I've designed based on the colors, the fonts, and the exact type of placements you need for your text in order to make sure that they go viral. So you can get those as well. You'll find the link in the description box below. And then you have the same title here as well, tips to avoid more breakage. Usually I don't like to have the same title, because what happens here is that Pinterest is already scanning your entire pin for clues, right? So it's looking for, what is this pin all about? What is this image all about? Who is this website, right? So you want to make sure that you give Pinterest the chance to maybe see another side of this particular title. So I would then change this title and make it 5 epic or 5 tips to help you avoid more breakage, or 5 hacks or 5 strategies to avoid more breakage, because you want to give Pinterest more options to pick up this pin in your keyword research, as well as to rank it on the search feed. So you will make this, ideally what you can do, for example, for this pin is, first of all, you should definitely increase your font size, use less adjectives, and what we also want you to do is to not use cursive font. At least not for the most important word, because when you're giving tips and tips is not looking very clear or not easily legible, people are not going to be able to, they will not click on that pin. And when they don't click on that pin, it doesn't do you any favor, right? When it comes to your title, what you want to do is that you want to use a different form of keyword. So you want to use a different keyword enabler. So it can be something like 5 strategies to avoid more breakage, or 5, let's say, hacks to avoid more breakage. So use a different long keyword, right? Okay, and then you have your description here, which is relaxer stretching can solve the half of the relaxed hair girl's problem when done right. Important part, epic 5 relaxer stretching tips. Okay, again, we have relaxer a lot, and I don't know if people are searching for that. So let's look at that, relaxer stretching, and see what comes up. So relaxer stretching hairstyles, before and after, how to strip relaxer out of here, how to stretch your relaxer. So what I would do is, again, before you pin and create this description, do a little bit of keyword research and see what shows up, right? So when we look at relaxer stretching, what are the types of things that come up? So relaxer stretching, and then let's see what are the different pins that are showing up. So caring for relaxed hair during a 12-week relaxed stretcher, and then see, you know, what are the different types of keywords that she has used to rank this pin. Now, obviously, the pins that you see on the top, or let's say in the first fold of the page, are the pins that are either having a large engagement or they're doing better than others. So you want to go through and see, okay, how are these pins performing well? Why are these pins getting clicks? So what are these people doing that is helping them get ranked? So this is where, okay, this is way too long. I would never recommend you to add that long of a description, but I would spend a little bit of time again optimizing this keyword as well. And optimizing keywords doesn't mean that you just stuff 20 keywords and you're like relaxer stretching, stretching DIY, stretching hair it is blah blah blah. That is too desperate and anyone can see through it, including the Pinterest algorithm. So what you want to do is that you want to formulate your description in, first of all, very simple language so that anyone on the internet can understand it. And secondly, you want to again be using at least 3 to 5 long-term keywords. So long tail keywords, sorry, would be the right word. Long tail keywords mean not using keywords which are 1 or 2 words long, but instead 4 to 5 words long and so on, right? That's what you want to do. And that's going to help you then be able to start ranking in search and actually get your pin, ranking. Another thing to keep in mind when you're optimizing is that there should be similarity between the image that you have here and the text that you have here. If the image that you have here is of a girl and you're talking about breakage tips, you don't want to be writing text about, hair masks. Like, that doesn't make sense. So there has to be a sort of, I don't know if the word is symbiotic, but like a parallel relationship between both of these aspects as well. Okay. And next thing that also matters is how you're designing your other pins as well. So for example, this is one pin that we evaluated, right? Now I don't have the time to evaluate every single pin on your account. Again, this is something that I would gladly do, but due to shortage of time, I would not be able to evaluate every single pin. But like I said, for that pin, you can see a lot of your pins have the same trend where you have your hair somehow in cursive, and that is not easy to read. So I would change that, either remove the cursive and make it normal font, or you can remove the cursive to a part which does not matter that much. So what is the most important thing about this tip, about this pin? The most important thing is about hair porosity, right? So hair porosity needs to be bold and clear and legible. Everything else, why you need to know and all of that, can definitely be changed, okay? Another thing that you can work on is your pin titles. So when it comes to your pin titles, like I said, you want to be creating pin titles which, first of all, people want to read, and second, they stand out in the feed. So what makes your pin title more interesting than the next person and the next millions of pins out there, right? So 17 essential kitchen ingredients everyone needs for quick DIY hair recipes. Way too long. Try to keep your title to 5 to 7 words max, because when you have such a long title, by the time a person finishes reading it, they've already lost interest and they've moved on. So make sure that your titles are not something which is super duper long, right? So you want to make sure that these are short, 5 to 7, juicy titles where you just pick the words that are the most important in your pin, instead of having everything, instead of just throwing in everything on the pin. So you don't want to do that because it just doesn't help anyone. All right. Again, this is not a good example of a pin which is going to do well, because first of all, the text placement is odd, because when it's on the left right corner of the screen, sometimes it can get cut off. But because when you, for example, are scrolling on your Pinterest app, you don't see the complete image when you're scrolling, and most people are on their mobile phone. So what will happen is that half of this image is going to get cut off and people can just see the best reviewed, which doesn't really make sense. So I would at least move this up and place it somewhere in the middle here so that people can actually see the text. So you don't want to be putting your text at the bottom of the pin, the most important thing, because then people will just miss out on it, because same thing here as well. It's too low, and that's why a lot of people will probably just be cut off over here and they won't have a reason to click on it, because they're not going to double tap and go in and really see what the text is all about. Sure, for some topics that are super interesting, that might happen, but it's not that common for that to happen as well. I like the fact that you're using infographics. I think that is a really cool thing. I would, however, work a little bit on optimizing your description and your title as well, and making sure that you somehow add in either as a hashtag that it's an infographic, or add a hashtag for, you know, like hair care hacks or whatever, because usually infographics are very search friendly. So Pinterest already picks up a lot of data based on the info, but you can also help it out by adding, you know, more info within your right section or within your description section as well. And for those of you all who are not using infographics, you should definitely have it in your strategy, because they can tend to a lot of engagement for your account, specifically saves. They don't traditionally get a lot of clicks, but they can get a lot of saves as well. All right, let's move on to your boards now and see what is up with your boards. So you have, I guess, 10 boards odd, out of which I guess 2 or 3 boards are group boards, and the rest are your own personal boards. So here's your best of hair cyclopedia hair blog, and then we have, okay, the option to follow. Here you can find useful information on blah blah blah, and then you have, I guess, all of your blog pins attached here, right? So that's there as well. Again, I would optimize this as well based on how we do it for, you know, for your profile, but I guess you can also keep it the same, because it doesn't matter that much when it comes to you know, your best of blog, because that's anyway going to get a lot of traffic, because all of your pins are going to be pinned there. And then here's hair growth and best practices. Learn about all the best practices for growing long and healthy hair, what to avoid, hair journey, hair growth, healthy hair. So in your board descriptions, I don't necessarily recommend that you add hashtags, because usually boards are not hashtag discoverable. It's usually pins that get discovered with hashtags. So I would skip this. And instead of this, I would add a few more keywords. So you can easily add 10 keywords per board, which are directly related to what your board is about. So the key here is don't add keywords that are not related to your board, right? So for example, if you have a hair growth board, then you should be adding all the variations of hair growth possible, right? So up to 10 keyword variations. And what that does is that it basically gives Pinterest the information that this is a person, or this is a board that is talking about hair growth and all the things related to hair growth. So I would not add, for example, hair mask or hair treatment. I mean, I'm not sure if that is related or not, but I guess you and your niche should know what is related and what is unrelated. So up to 10 keyword variations in your boards would be a good idea to add. And also remove hashtags. So I would not do this, because it just doesn't serve any purpose when it comes to optimizing boards. Another thing that I also would say, specifically when you're starting out, is not to have very little pins. So as I can see, you probably have, I guess, how many was it, 25 pins, or all of your boards have like 20, 30 pins. Not a good idea. Your boards should at least have 50 high quality pins. Ideally, they should be your own content, but if that's not possible, you can use other people's content as well. So it doesn't have to be, you know, put in a way that is just, you know, you creating 50 blog posts, because that's just crazy, specifically in the beginning. But you do want to optimize it with, you know, newer content, and a very easy way to do it is just simply going to search and start, you know, optimizing it with more content. And usually when you're logged in, because this is not my account, I don't have access to this, but if I go into my account and I want to add in, let's say, more content, and I want to add in more pins, I will usually have that option in, you know, more. So more ideas, go through that, and then just simply go and pick up the right, you know, the best pins that are related to that particular account. And you should also be able to do this, but since I'm not logged into your account, I can't do it for you. You have to do it yourself. And what I recommend doing here again is making sure that you're going to that more ideas tab, and then you're actually creating at least 50 pins per board, so that your board is discoverable on search and actually has that curated content that you need to grow on Pinterest. All right, here's the best hair products. And okay, this board is dedicated. So again, you don't want a lot of explainer stuff on your board descriptions, because your board descriptions are not necessarily for people to follow you, but they're more for the algorithm to understand what the board is about. So I would skip all this filler jargon, and I would just go straight to the good stuff. So what are you doing? What this board is about, everyone you offer, and all the long keyword variations of that. And then again, I would go and save at least 20 to 30 more pins in this board, because all you have right now is just your pins, and that's not helping new people really discover your board, because you also want to leverage other people's high quality pins so that they can drive traffic to your board, because people can find you through your pins, they can find you through your profile, and they can also find you through your boards. So you want to be optimizing all of these three things in order to actually get the best results. Again, hair tips and hacks, I think it's pretty much the same standard tips that I have for you for all of these boards. When it comes to your overall boards in general, I feel like you have very little boards, so you can definitely create more boards. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I guess you have like 8 boards at the moment. So I would definitely increase at least 5 more boards. in general, so that you can also give your audience an opportunity to connect with your content and to find new stuff as well. So for example, you have hair memes and all of that. Maybe you can add boards for hair masks, for hair treatments, for hair tips for curly hair tips for skinny hair. I don't think skinny hair is a word, but yeah, for straight hair, for I don't know, wavy hair, all of those things. Because what it does is that it basically makes you the hair cyclopedia, which is exactly what your content is all about. So where can I go on Pinterest to find everything related to hair? I can go on this account. And how can I do that when I have boards that actually represent that? So Pinterest usually earlier had a limit on how many boards you could create, but now I believe it is like 2,000 plus, or maybe even 4,000. So it really does not matter how many boards you have, as long as they're serving a purpose and they're meeting your audience at the right spot. So for example, you could easily, off the top of my mind, create boards on hair masks, hair treatments, hair hacks, tips for curly hair, tips for wavy hair. Maybe you can even create boards per blog post. So for example, let's go into all of your pins and see what are your different pins all about, right? So your pins are about must have hair tools for all your hair needs. So maybe you want to create a board on hair products, right? Or hair resources or hair tools, whatever you find is a keyword. And then you have something here which is about hair shedding. So maybe you can have a board about hair shedding. And the way to think about these boards is that they will give you the opportunity to basically curate all of the related content in one place. So this is how I would look at, when it comes to creating board ideas. And then you have hair growth, right? So I guess you already have a board on hair growth, so we don't need to do that. And then curling ideas, straightening ideas, leave-in conditioners. The world is your oyster when it comes to creating boards, and the only thing it takes is your time. One thing to keep in mind though is not to do too much in one day. So when Pinterest observes that you're doing 2,000 different things, much like on any other platform, even on Instagram or other places you can get banned and blocked, you want to do this step by step. So create 2 or 3 new boards per day. Don't go and save 1,000 pins right away, because that's going to probably indicate that it's a bot doing some activity, and that may lead to your account getting banned. Same thing goes for joining group boards and doing different things. When it comes to overall activities, you don't want to be doing so much that Pinterest thinks something is wrong with your account. So I would create a strategy step by step here. First things first, to optimize your profile name. So optimize that, make it shorter, make it more succinct, make it really easy for people to understand what you're all about. Add keywords to your bio. When it comes to your pins, get rid of the cursive font, and if you're using the cursive font, make sure it is not on the most important part of the pin. You want to use it for the less important stuff which nobody cares about or is not that interesting, but the most important stuff, you want to make sure that that is highlighted in a serif or a sans serif font, so that everybody can see it from a distance. Make sure that your titles are broad enough, big enough, and visible enough to be used. And again, make sure to really go into the description and describe it in a way that a natural reader would be reading. You can use 5 to 7 keywords in your description as well. When it comes to your boards, you want to be making sure that your board descriptions give people 10 different keyword variations about each of your board topics. And this is again going to come in from keyword research. So if you don't understand keyword research, go to my keyword research tutorial and you'll be able to find different ways to do it. Again, this is something I go into way more detail inside my course. So if you're interested in that, and if you just want to skip all of this free, stitching together advice, and you just want to go step by step, save your time, get my feedback, and move forward, then your next step should be to join that course. Another thing that you can do is to remove hashtags from your board descriptions. You want to make sure that you're adding 50 high quality pins so that people can find you through others' content as well, seeing as you have very few followers and very few monthly views right now. Maybe if you had, let's say, 1,000 followers and let's say at least 100,000 monthly views, that's when you can reduce the amount of other people's content and start pushing towards just your own content. And of course, I would start with adding at least 5 more boards that are highly related to your topics. One way to go about it is to simply split your blog post ideas, and each of your blog post categories can be a board here as well, because chances are this is not the only time you will be pinning this content. You're going to be pinning it in for a while, and you're going to be pinning more and more content. So you want to give people that option to discover you organically, and for Pinterest to understand that, okay, she has all of this related content in one board, and this board has a lot of engagement, so I need to be pushing this out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Inside my program, PINFLUENCER Academy, I do a monthly coaching calls where I regularly audit my student accounts, as well as tell them how to optimize their content, their website, and their pins for getting the best results. If you're interested in checking out this program and working more with me, you can find the link in the description box below. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.